So, our current plan is that I'm here with you once a month, and we are taking a journey through Unity's 12 powers. So, we're following the order in this book, Divine Audacity, that we're talking about on Thursday evenings in our discussion group. So, we have kind of followed the calendar order and the order in the book. So, during the last month, we've been talking about the power of love, and we're now moving into a phase of talking about the power of wisdom, also known as judgment and discernment. So, I want to start off with a little bit of history around the 12 powers, because it's good for us to kind of get some Unity history and where all this came from and everything. So, Unity founder Charles Fillmore, he basically developed the 12 powers as kind of like a study set, and it's a great tool. I find the longer that I'm in Unity, the more useful these 12 powers become to me, as looking at all of these 12 powers being part of my divine nature, just like they are part of the divine nature of the universe, and that the more that I can be aware of these and tap into them and use them, the more I can enhance the quality of my experience in life. So, when Charles Fillmore was putting it together, now he and his wife Myrtle Fillmore, they were definitely had a background in Christianity. They were just looking to kind of step away from the traditional Christianity, which basically had become about religion and the rules of religion, and they were looking to take those teachings basically into a new, it was part of the movement called New Thought. But actually what they were doing was tapping into the teachings of Jesus before the church got all involved. But they still had that reference point. They still had the Bible as their reference point. So when Charles Fillmore was putting this together, he ordered the powers, the 12 powers, in the order that Jesus called his disciples forth. So he kind of used that order as he was putting it together. And so each one of the powers has an associated disciple, and each one of the powers has a location in the body, and each one of the powers has a color. So like these body themes and colors are things that you can use. Like if you really want to lean into a particular power that you're like, I really don't have it together when it comes to, say, the power of order or something, you can use that color to kind of like, all right, let me add that color, in a scarf or a candle or something like that. You can look at where the location is in the body and kind of focus on that in your, say, your exercise or your meditation or something like that. So it can become useful in lots of different ways. So the powers also work together, just like kind of going back to that foundation of Jesus calling his disciples. Anyone who has some familiarity with the New Testament knows that very often Jesus would send his disciples out in teams to do things. And when we look at the Bible metaphysically, and we look at what each one of these disciples represents, what power they represent, then you can kind of bring that through into your own life and look at like, how are you combining these powers together to do your life in a better way, right? So in the past month, we've been talking about the power of love. So just to review that, the disciple there is John. The color is pink. So if you wanted to kind of, ramp up your love, whatever way that is, add some pink to your life. And the love center is right there in your heart space. No surprise, right? So wisdom, which is what we're moving into talking about, is an essential partner for the power of love. Wisdom is right there in your solar plexus, like the pit of your stomach, right next door. Right next door. The color is yellow. So if you want to ramp up your wisdom, then get yourself some yellow. Add some yellow into your life. There are a lot of sunflowers around. We don't have any here today, but there are a lot of sunflowers around because sunflowers are linked closely with what's going on in Ukraine. So, go to the dollar store and get yourself some sunflowers. Put them here and there. So that's kind of, I want to do a little bit more on the history, so I'm going to read a little bit from the 12 Powers. Now, the 12 Powers book that we find these days is written by Charles Fillmore and his second wife, Cora Fillmore. After Myrtle Fillmore passed away, he essentially married the secretary. And, and Myrtle was significantly older than him, like 9 years older than him, so it's kind of not a surprise that she predeceased him. And he continued working with Cora, and so there are two parts to this book. There's all the Charles Fillmore part at the beginning, and then the second, like the last third of the book is called Christ Enthroned in Man, and it's written by Cora Fillmore. So I want to read to you about, we were talking about love and wisdom, so I kind of want to read some of her writing so that we can kind of give ourselves a foundation for what we're talking about today. The great positive at the center of our being are wisdom, or judgment, at the pit of the stomach, and love in the heart. In the development of the 12 powers, these faculties are paramount. They are closely related and work together in producing the strongest vibrations known to the body. Jesus called James and John, those are the two disciples, Jesus called them sons of thunder, a title symbolizing the powerful vibrations produced by these faculties. Wisdom is a great dynamic force that carries its power to the love center. In the action and reaction between these two centers, we get our greatest realizations and most wonderful spiritual radiations. Wisdom and love, when combined, produce peace and poise and a great dynamic spiritual center to how we do our lives. I added that last little part. So isn't it cool to hear something that was written like 100 years ago, but it's really sounds relevant, doesn't it? Yeah. Occasionally you get kind of a little piece of archaic language, and they do have a tendency to use very kind of male-centric, and even when they talk about God, it'll sound like, that kind of old-fashioned male God, but a lot of times I just sort of translate as I go and just sort of bring it into language that feels more comfortable for us here and now. But that kind of gives us a basis for all the way back to our founders, how talking about these powers, talking about how love and wisdom work together. And I'll give you one more example for those of you who do have that reference point back to the Bible. Another example has to do with Jesus and the transfiguration, which most people who are familiar with the Bible know that that's a point when Jesus called 3 of his disciples and took them up on the mountain and revealed the truth of his divine nature so that he could show them that that's what you are too. Mm-hmm. And so the 3 disciples he took with him were Peter, faith, James, wisdom, and John, love. Mm-hmm. So when you think about when you are with yourself in your spiritual practice, revealing the truth of your spiritual nature, not the truth of like what it's like when you're at work or in traffic or in your stuff, whatever your stuff is, that these are the powers that you call to really kind of say, where am I right now? What is the truth of, what is my truth right now? Call these powers of faith and love and wisdom. And those are the ones that can help you kind of raise your vibration to a new level if you're looking to move to a new level. So, we talked about some history stuff, but I always like to let's bring it to the here and now, because here we are in the 21st century. So how do wisdom and love partner together in our lives right here, right now? So, over the past month, we've been talking about the power of love, and the power of love and its energy of magnetizing, harmonizing, and unitizing, and essentially whatever it is that we love on, and that can be, whatever it is you are giving your energy to, then we are drawing ourselves towards circumstances and experiences that are in alignment with those vibrations. Now, on a human level, when we're in our ego, exercising that magnetizing power without something to kind of tamper it down and guide it can end us up in an unfortunate places, can it not? So let's say I love chocolate. An unrestrained love of chocolate could get me in a bad place, right? Same thing with whatever you might be. It could be gaming. It could be, you know, whatever that you might be buying, you know, unrestrained numbers of.
Sangria.
Or sangria. Anything else anyone wants to, you know, examples you'd like to share? Beanies. All right?
Hair dye. Hair dye.
There you go. You understand where we're coming from? Here's where the power of wisdom comes in to kind of serve as guidance, because unrestrained, our power of love and our ego can get us in trouble. But the power of wisdom, hold on a second, I need to get my, excuse me. So the power of wisdom, sometimes you feel it in your gut, right? It's kind of like, putting the brakes on. I have some water. Thank you, Chris. I have some close by if I need it. But thank you. One of the tools that I hope to be able to share with you all at some point and talk more about is the Enneagram. Anyone here familiar with the Enneagram? Well, one thing that's wonderful about the Enneagram is it kind of shines a light on us to kind of let us know what our typical patterns are and whether or not we are particularly good at listening to our gut, where our wisdom speaks from. Because some people are quite skilled with that. It just comes naturally to them to just like, they just know. But the way the Enneagram is, you know, the kind of 3 energy centers that are displayed in the Enneagram, some people are very much in their head and they're thinking things through, and your gut can be going, hey, and just like, no, you're just up here. Same way with the heart center. So at some point we can talk more about that, but the wisdom, you know, the area of wisdom is there in your gut, and it's the one saying, you know, when it's like, oh, I'm supposed to go here, I'm supposed to turn left, you know, and you're like, no. It doesn't feel right. And like I said, sometimes you're in a phase of life or a phase of mind where you listen to it, and then sometimes you don't. And many of us can think of examples where you didn't listen, and look where it got you. You know, so that's where that power of wisdom. So let's lean into the power of wisdom, also known as judgment. So, wisdom and judgment both play a big part in Scripture. So for those of you who have a Christian background or like to refer to the Bible, wisdom is talked about numerous times. It's even sort of like a character sometimes. Sometimes it's male, sometimes it's female. And there's in particular, the story of Solomon, the leader who, you know, was such a good boy that God said, well, I'll give you whatever you want. And what Solomon chose was to have the power of wisdom, which again showed how wise he was. But these are all stories. Then there's that word judgment. So judgment here in the 21st century has all kinds of energy and charge around it, and it's pretty much negative, right? It's pretty much negative at this point. When we think about judgment, we think about, if you're looking from a biblical perspective, it's like that day of judgment kind of energy. But what we want to look at for our purposes here and now today is to kind of take the charge off of all of that and look at how our power of wisdom or judgment is our evaluative power. It's our power to work pros and cons. It's our power to ask and answer the question, what is for my highest good right here, right now? what is best in this situation right here, right now. And it's something practical that we can work with every day, and something that we're doing all the time, every day, whether or not we're thinking about it. So what I'd like to do is take a pause, and Chris has a video of one of the things that I've done over the years is I've done lots of readers theater. My background is in theater. I've written like a gazillion of these short little plays to do in, church services. So I have one of those to show for you that is called Unity Twilight Zone. So let's take a look at that, and then I'll talk some more.
Oh, okay. Turn that light out on the. Oh, you gotta get the sound.
You want this one off?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Make sure I got the sound going on, guys. I might have to rewind. Oh, that could make a difference right there. I don't want to blow your ears off, that's all.
I wonder if I should wear the red or the blue.
Yellow.
Oh.
The red makes me look peaked, but I think the blue needs to be washed.
Wear the yellow.
If I put a sweater over the stain, I bet the blue would be fine.
How about the yellow?
Huh. Maybe I'll wear the yellow.
What we are witnessing is a glimpse into an average mind in the relative realm of consciousness. A normal and ordinary woman making plans for a typical run-of-the-mill day. However, today we are able to see more. Today we take an observer's view, and from the depths of the absolute realm, we are able to detect the activity of divine ideas in action. Beyond the ever-changing outer appearances, we are able to glimpse wisdom in action. We are able to hear the voice of discernment, and yes, we are able to feel the power of judgment in this woman's life. For after all, the average man or woman on a typical day doesn't make it out the door without the ability to evaluate and make choices. But how aware is this quotidian woman? What choices will she make? And what outcomes will she create? Let us observe and find out here in the Unity Twilight Zone.
Oh, I don't know. The yellow is too bold, isn't it?
Yellow is great, really.
But the red doesn't work and the blue has a stain. Oh, what shall I do? I just can't make up my mind.
Just listen. You've got this.
Huh?
The yellow brings confidence.
Yellow does help me feel confident.
It's fresh and from the cleaners.
Yes. Yes, that looks good. Yellow it will be. And the boss likes yellow, and I love the boss. And I want the boss to like me, so I'll go out and get the yellow Post-it notes and the yellow pens and yellow highlighters. Oh, I wonder if I could find a yellow stapler. Maybe even a yellow car.
Oh, Nellie. Attraction is good, but there can be too much of a good thing.
That is a bit much, isn't it? But I really do like the boss, and the boss really does like yellow. The boss likes pretzels, too.
Pretzels are fine, just not too many.
A simple demonstration of divine ideas at work in the life of a normal, everyday woman. And yet, there is so much more at play here. The power of wisdom, partnering gracefully with the powers of love and understanding. The perceptive, evaluative quality of judgment combined with the executive, deciding faculty of the will. And all this, a depth of wisdom that is ever to be tapped, available to even the most average of us all. In fact, not only available, ideas are in action at all times, whether we pay attention or not. And all for us to see here in the Unity Twilight Zone.
Yeah, Bride was amazing.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, that's a peek into how things go in my brain. So this just gives us an example of what I'm talking about when we talk about, let's just kind of take the charge off this word judgment and realize that this power of judgment we're using it all the time. We're using it all the time when we're like, when our wisdom says, let me check the weather and see what I should wear today. You know, because you might be loving on some long sleeves, and that would not be a good choice today.
Not today.
No. So, you know, as it said in the script, we wouldn't get out the door without using our power of judgment in a very practical and useful way in our lives. Now, we know that you can use your power of judgment to be judging on yourself in a bad way, judging on other people, on circumstances, but that is all about how we're using it, right? It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. We need judgment. And at many times, you know, in parts of our lives where we have done well, then we, you know, can take a moment and go, okay, that, you know, good call, self, you know, and that all comes from this power of judgment, our capacity to evaluate and kind of run some pros and cons and make the best choice. So with different flavors of judgment, I would suggest, and this is just sort of a model that I'm looking at today, so I might change my mind tomorrow, but in Unity, we have a good tradition of that. Charles Fillmore said he reserved the right to change his mind at any time. So, but today, I'm thinking, as we look at different aspects of this power, I'm thinking when we look at judgment, that maybe we can look at that with regards to our physical, material, outer world kind of operation. And then if we look at discernment, we can look at our consciousness, and we look at intuition, we can look to our spirit. So we'll kind of look at that for a few minutes. After all, Myrtle Fillmore told us, Unity founder Myrtle Fillmore, that our beingness is threefold humanity. So body, mind, or consciousness, and spirit. So let's look at how this power of wisdom operates in those realms. So we've talked about releasing the charge around the word judgment. So let's kind of step away. I don't know if any of you all have kind of themes of Judgment Day from your previous experience with religion. A lot of people do. One of the things that Charles Fillmore said in his book, The 12 Powers, is he was like, there is no Judgment Day. He claims that there was a translation issue with how the words of Jesus were translated, so that whatever the original word Jesus was using was translated as like the Judgment Day, like it was going to be on a Tuesday in this year, when actually he was saying a Judgment Day. And Charles Fillmore is like, every day is Judgment Day, because you wouldn't be able to like figure out what's for dinner without using your power of judgment. So let's just think of it in that kind of everyday sort of way. And it really is key to managing our day. So I'd like to suggest that you look at, in all of these examples, that here is this power of wisdom asking the question in your day-to-day, how to get dressed, what to eat, how to do your life, what is for my highest good right here, right now? What is the best choice for me or for, say, an organization that I'm with right here, right now? That it asks that question, and it opens the door for you to listen to your wisdom, to kind of discern the answer for yourself. You feel it in your gut. And also we know that it can be used well or misused. I think we've already covered that, so we're kind of clear on that one, right? So let's look at this word discernment. So I would suggest that we look at this power of wisdom and the word discernment kind of at the level of our consciousness. And when I say consciousness, in Unity we define that as our thoughts and feelings, our beliefs and attitudes. That's kind of the arena that we're in. We're in the metaphysical arena, because we're no longer out here figuring out whether to turn right or turn left. We're in the metaphysical, so we're in the realm of consciousness. And again, this word discernment is creating that space to ask the questions. What is for my highest good right here, right now. What is the best for me right here, right now? And again, there's this evaluative quality to this power of wisdom, where it's like kind of doing a spiritual pros and cons of this, or you know, and it's that action of looking at our options that is that evaluation, that wisdom to look and see, this feels like a good fit. This, I think I'm done with this. I think it's time to let it go. So we're looking at mindset, attitudes, that kind of thing, and it's a reminder for us to step out of all of our outer life ways of evaluating things, because that's also where our human brain is involved, right? And our human brain is the servant to our ego. So our human brain does things like remember the time that you made a mistake and remind you, don't do that again, you might make a mistake again. When it's like, okay, when you step into the level of discernment, then we let go of that kind of nonsense. Because you got your power of love saying, no, I really am feeling, you know, I'm really feeling a desire to play the bass guitar or something. Then your brain's like, remember when you tried that and it didn't go well? And it's like, we're not playing in that game. We're taking this to the level of discernment. And we're saying, how do I feel when I play the bass? Does it give me joy? Is it, you know, if it's something that I'm just doing at home, it doesn't matter whether I, you know, what's a mistake anyway? So, anyway, discernment, wisdom brings us out of this kind of out here with our ego. Now, we don't want to trash talk our brain or our ego, because we need those to manage our outer lives, right? We need that so that we can show up at work and be the person we need to be in a professional setting. We need that. So we don't want to bash it, but we know that we're moving into a level, a deeper level, that really is private. It's just up to us to know what's best for us. It's not something that we need to share with our neighbors or our cousin or whatever, or, you know, go out on the internet and read a bunch of trash that doesn't help us, you know. This is just, we just take it within and work that evaluative operation of this power of wisdom at the level of our consciousness. What is best for me? Is it good when I go to this place and hang out with these people? Is it not good? This relationship, good, not good? What, you know, what's working, what's right now? Not last week, not what might happen in the, like right now. Then we can take this power of wisdom to yet another level, to the level of spirit. And the word I would use there is intuition. Now, some of us will be close friends with our intuition. And others of us might be just like, la, la, la. You know, again, that's why I find studying things like the Enneagram can kind of shine a light on that for yourself, so that you can go, oh, let me work on this a little bit. Because when we're talking about the level of our divine nature, we're no longer talking about words or plans or things like that, or things in the outer world, like I want this one, but I want it on Tuesday. We're talking about at that level of knowing, the level of just gut feelings that we just know. And again, in our spiritual practice, whatever that is for you, so if it's time in prayer, if it's time journaling, if it's time gardening, if it's meditation, whatever it is, this is the space. Again, same questions, my friend. What is for my highest good right here, right now? What is best for me or whatever group I might be involved with right here, right now? And in our spiritual practice, we're not looking for results or answers. Now, your human brain is looking for an answer. What you gonna wear today? You know? But we're talking about at the level of spirit. So what you're seeking is, what is my truth right now? Because your truth of sort of the nature of the universe can change over time. It's changing all the time. So you need to check in with yourself, because you can make some decisions about, okay, here's how I'm going to do my life. And that'll go well for a while, and then it becomes a rut. It becomes a habit. It becomes, your brain's like, this is how we do this. This is how we get, and then you need to take a pause. Tap into your inherent wisdom, the wisdom that you have in your divine nature all the time, without limit. Set aside all the activity of your brain telling you, oh no, do this, do that, and sit in your spiritual practice, in the silence, however it is that you do that. And again, with those same questions. What is the highest good right here, right now? And you create space where you just ask the question, create space, and then just move into the stillness. Trust, allow that as you tap into your divine nature, that answers are there, guidance are there, and a lot of times, we could all probably tell different stories about how intuition shows up for us. For some people, it might be something they hear, something they feel, something they just sense. But that is specific to you and how you experience the truth. So let me read, to kind of tie all this together, I'm going to read from a 12 Powers book called Power Up, and that's by Paul Hasselbeck and Cheryl Holton. So let me just read this a little bit. Excuse me, plant. All right. Awareness of how we are using the ability of judgment in our everyday lives helps us to know how to use it at even higher levels of consciousness. The highest and best use of this ability is to evaluate and discern, moment by moment, how effectively we are being the best person and the best Christ we can be. We can also use this ability to see beyond the appearance of another person's personality, ego, attitudes, and actions to discern the presence of this beautiful Christ nature. So that reveals another aspect, that aspect of how we might be judging on other people, is that the more we lean into this power of discernment and intuition, the more we can see, not only recognize the truth of ourselves, but see beyond this person who might be making you angry or irritated or breaking your heart or whatever, to that is expressing at the point of them also. So, just to wrap it all up here, I want to kind of remind us of fundamentals of unity. In unity, we talk about that which we call God, or whatever name you like to use for it, as oneness. And that doesn't mean there's that which you call God and you, because look at the math, folks. That's not one, is it? One means that we're talking about oneness, and that is the core of what we talk about in unity. That means that we are expressions of this oneness. So when we talk about wisdom being an element of the universe, an element of that which we call God, that resides within you as well. 100% present all the time, whether you're using it well or not. You are using it. You can use your power of wisdom to believe in something that is not, helpful for you. You can use your power of wisdom to say, believe in Murphy's Law, which is, if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. great choice, right? But you can use that. You can use your wisdom. You can use that as your evaluation barometer. Oh, okay. I should choose this because I just want to be safe. So you're using it all the time, whether it's intentional or not. Like going back to the little Reader's Theater. I mean, that was just about what should I wear today. And we also combine this. We combine our wisdom with love. So like at the end of the little scene, she starts going crazy on yellow. I'll get yellow this, yellow that, yellow that. And there was wisdom behind her. But whoa, hold on. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. So these powers combine together and work together. So wisdom, judgment, discernment is not about how much you know, how smart you are, anything like that, because everybody's using it, and it's all about how you use it and how you create space in your life to listen to your wisdom. Because we all know what it's like to be just charging along, doing life, and you got that little voice going, don't go there, but you're like, I gotta go there. We all know that moment, however it is that it shows up in your life. So creating space in your spiritual practice, whatever that is, to listen, to ask those key questions. What is for my highest good right here, right now? What is best for me or whatever group or relationship I might be in right here, right now? And the other partner that is in on this, going back to when I told you about the transfiguration and the 3 disciples that Jesus called, there was James, wisdom, John, love, and the third one is Peter, faith. That's your capacity to hold to a truth that is not out here with data and, not out in the material world, a truth that you know is true, and to hold to that and act on that and that kind of thing. You have all of this within you all the time. Sometimes it just takes a few minutes to just quiet things down and tap into it. So you can rest in the faith that the abundance that is this source energy in which we exist is available to you right here, right now, as your power of wisdom. So. All right. So what we're going to do now is take all of this and move it into a time of meditation. And in this book, Divine Audacity, and again, we're meeting every Thursday evening to kind of continue talking about these powers. Each one of these chapters ends with a meditation. So I'm going to use that meditation for us here today. So let us just start with a few deep breaths. So just settle into your seat. Just wiggle a little bit. Maybe wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, take any tension off of sitting for a while. Focus on your breath. And begin focusing attention at your solar plexus, so right at the pit of your stomach, which lies mainly on the front of the aorta, where this primary artery enters the abdomen by passing down through the diaphragm as the pit of the stomach and behind the stomach itself. And just focus on that area. Most of the nerves in this area belong to the autonomic nervous system, which operates beneath conscious awareness. The solar plexus is considered the other brain because of its nerve sensitivity. Affirm this as you listen. I shine a yellow light like the midday sun through the region of my solar plexus. I bathe my solar plexus and the area around it brilliance of divine wisdom. I never need to worry about knowing the right thing to do. I do not judge by appearances, but by right judgment. I do not rush to conclusions, but discern the way to go. Everything I need to know is within me. Divine wisdom is my spiritual name and nature. I can trust my aha and uh-oh wisdom moment by moment. I discern through divine wisdom my deep inner sense of direction. I trust and follow my inner voice of wisdom. I rest easy as centered in spiritual integrity. I am true. I activate the power of wisdom in my body, mind, and spirit. I assert wisdom to live in the heavenly state of harmony, peace, and well-being. My tuning to divine wisdom blesses me and all others. Now let's take a few moments in the stillness together to allow these words to settle in. Spread the yellow light of wisdom throughout your body, penetrating your skin and radiating out into the world like sunlight streaming over the earth. And as we come to the end of this time of meditation, we can work this affirmation together. Just listen. I am the divine power of wisdom, wise. Let you say that with me. I am the divine power of wisdom, wise. And as you come back into the room, allow your outer eyes to open, and let's say it again with some vim and vigor, my friends. I am the power of wisdom, wise.